Bill Houston vowed when he came out of the army in 1946 that no one was going to order him about for the next 20 years. That's now 25 years ago, and he still enjoys roaming the world the way he has done since childhood on his bike.
I started cycling at 11 years of age when my brother gave me his bike, and up till just now, near enough I can go back to diaries and one or two charts that I've managed to salvage, and I'm near enough touching 400,000 miles.
Since that young start, Bill Houston has dedicated his life to cycling. He's topped his aim of 20 years of independence by 5 years, and still every summer he takes a holiday on the road for at least 3 months. So far, his bike has taken him to 34 countries, from Lapland to the Sahara.
I used to see places that were mapped in the map where tourists just hadn't been. Sardinia, Morocco, Iceland, Turkey, and when Yugoslavia opened its frontier for the first, I went there. And that started me going to places that nobody had been. And we got into countries that were behind the Iron Curtain and met some good people, nice people. And then if I wanted solitude, up to Iceland, where in one trip I never spoke to anybody for 17 days. So when I started talking to my bike, I thought it was time I was coming out into civilization. Still do camping when I go abroad, but in this country you had somewhere to go in the winter time, and you must get a roof over your head. And as you know, the millionaire has his weekend cottages. Well, for a small sum of money I joined the youth hostels. We have 90 here in Scotland, which I can call my weekend cottage. So I think I'm better off than a millionaire, because I don't think a millionaire has 90 weekend cottages.
Bill Houston was born here in Auchinleck 47 years ago. It's an overgrown mining village planted in the middle of the dairy farms of central Ayrshire. The main street is still the casual meeting place it always was, but nowadays it's artificially noisy and active with the rumble of traffic. But it's not Auchinleck's traffic. It's simply the main road from Glasgow to Dumfries, cutting the village in half. All that most people see is the little changing pattern of shops and pubs on the main street. But behind this facade, Auchinleck has been altered. The rows of miners' cottages have gone, and in their place is a sprawling housing estate. But the chief occupation is still down the pits, which is where Bill Houston went when he left school at the age of 14. His chance to escape came when the co-op advertised 2 jobs, apprentice baker and grocer's clerk. 60 other boys too wanted to avoid a life down the mines, and they all sat a written examination. But Bill got the baker's job, and the hours left him free to explore the hills of Galloway on his bike. Before he began his foreign travels, he thought he should know his own country thoroughly. So he spent 3 summers exploring every corner of Britain and Ireland.
Most people look at a hill and they say, well, there's something over that, and I'd like to do it, I'd like to get to the top of it. And they look at their map, there's no road. So nowadays, most people run about in fearsome things called motor cars. I detest the things, but you can't put one of these over your shoulder and go up the top of a hill, but I can do it with my bike. And when I do that, I can see what's on the other side. I can ride it away from the other side, because normally you get a road on the other side. And that's me, have done something. And there I am on the other side, and away I go and look for something else.
Despite his dislike of motor vehicles, Bill's present job is driving one. But 9 months of sitting in his bulldozer will subsidise 3 months pedalling his bike.
I'm sitting in the machine driving it, but it is a living, and although, you know, people would say it's a wrong thing to say, I'm a hypocrite or something, but I don't think so. It's only a way of earning your bobbies at the end of a week. And I'm sitting here and I'm pushing stuff in front of me. I'm not doing anybody any harm, and I can look out the window. It goes slow. It does make a noise, but it goes slow. And I can see wildlife all round about myself, and there's nobody pushing me doing this. I've got a certain task to do, and I do it. And if I see something, if it's a bird or even a wee flower at the side of the rubbish, I'll go out and have a look at it, just to say that I have did something, and I might even save the flower and put it somewhere else.
Bill belongs to a band of cyclists known as the Rough Stuff Fellowship. They dislike main roads and prefer to travel cross-country. The tougher the country, the better. The bike will get them there, or they'll get the bike there.
I remember the trip in Iceland, which was about 8 or 9 years ago, and it was started as an expedition with 5 of us, all from different parts of the country. But we sent our supplies in the year before, in the September, because the roads would be closed. It took the supplies in, and we were going further in between 2 ice caps. And when we put the stuff out, it lay all winter under the snow. And when we went in, there's no bridges over the rivers. And being the biggest mug there, I think, they used to say, oh, wait and see what size the river is. And the rivers were coming off the glaciers, and if the river took me to here, they just shouted, aye, it's too high for us, come back out again. So we did eventually find a small place. It might only take me just under the last bit, and there we were, taking our bags across first, and then come back across and lifting our bikes over our heads so they didn't get wet. But it did make made little difference actually, because the grit from the road still got into your cogs, and although we had tyres, they only lasted about 500 miles, and normally you can get 5,000 to 7,000 out of them. We come away minus pumps, broken mud gears, skint knees, skint elbows, everything, because we were going to cross a lava bed, and where the lava dust had settled, you might fall, and the bike went one way, you went another, and you skidded along the lava, and it took away some skin. Another good adventure was in Morocco, and I called into a village one day for the water, which they give you out of their sheepskin bags, but it happened to be a Friday, and which is their Sunday according to the religion, and the people were sitting round about a stew pot, known like a witch's cauldron, and there was about 8 or 9 Arab gentlemen there with their big knives across their lap and tin plates, so they just told me to sit cross-legged along with them, and they stirred this up with their big dirty hands and big dirty fingernails, and they piled this onto a plate and handed it to me. But the head man, he started groping about the bottom of the pot till he got the eye of a sheep, so he stuck this on top of the plate, and there I was looking at this eye, and it seemed to be winking at me, and I said, well, what do I do here? So I said, if I don't eat it, and there's 5 men here with big knives, which we in Scotland called a gully, so I might get my throat cut. So I just lifted the eye and put it in my mouth, and I was scared to sort of put my teeth through it in case it squirted the water or whatever's in the eye over the top of these people. So I swallowed it like a jube and ate some of the stew, and it's supposed to be a good guest that leaves something for the women folks. So the women got quite a bit in my plate, and I thanked them for their water, but when I went down the road, I got the castor oil out the bag and 2 spoonfuls of castor oil and hope for the best.
Auchinleck sees little of Bill Houston at weekends. Weekends are for the country. Sometimes alone, sometimes with his friend Jacky, Bill is off round the roads and tracks of southwest Scotland, whatever the weather. They know every yard of them already, but that makes little difference to their enthusiasm. Their pace is easy. No one's out to break speed or distance records. The target is a local youth hostel, but that's within reasonable reach, so they can afford to stop as often as they please, perhaps to look at a view, perhaps to make a mug of tea, or perhaps to make a full meal. They have extremely healthy appetites. They're part of a nationwide fraternity of cyclists. It's not really a solitary sport.
That's solitary because when you're on the road with a bicycle you're sitting, as we call in Scotland, a drum up. There's people pass you by and they say there's a cyclist there, he's just one of us. And they stop and they talk. It could be the road mender, it could be a traveller of the road, a knight of the road it's called, or a tramp. And we really are a mechanised form of a tramp, putting it bluntly. When I was a boy and watched my brother going away out on his bicycle, I was only about 9 or 10 years of age. And he promised to give me his bike when he got fed up with it. But when he came home at night, he used to tell me where he had been and used to look it up on a map, and I said to myself, well, I'd like to do that. And when I did get his bike, that was at 11 years of age, I started going further afield than what he had done, although he was 7 years older than me. So my first trip actually took me down to the Lake District at 12 years of age. With about 7 or 8 shillings in my pocket. It lasted me near enough the week before I came back home. And that's what started away the travel, right up till I joined the army in 1942.
Bill's training as a baker sometimes comes in useful. The bread he takes on his outings, he bakes himself. The pots of jam, too, are homemade. From his weekends, he returns with loads of berries to be made into wine. It all helps to keep down the expense of living and leaves more money to pay for the long summer trips to Norway or Austria. The inventor of the bicycle is, naturally, one of Bill's heroes. He was a local blacksmith called Kirkpatrick Macmillan, who made his bicycle about 1840, and shortly afterwards had the further distinction of being the first cyclist to be fined for reckless driving on what was then a marathon trip from Dumfriesshire to display his machine in Glasgow. Bill's wife has become accustomed to having a part-time husband. But during the week when he is around Auchinleck, they have a busy social life. And like most of their neighbours, they gather at the miners' welfare.
My wife, well, she came into my life, but she knew that she couldn't change it. As long as she got 1 or 2 weeks with herself, she was quite happy. I thought to myself, well, it's a shame. I'd married, that's 3 years, so why not take her abroad? So I asked her if she was willing to go abroad, and she said, what, you going to buy a motor car? Oh, Si, you're joking now. That was the last thing I buy. So I said, well, get a motorbike. So I'll be able to drive a motorbike, so I'll take you in it. We bought a new motorbike last November, and I took her abroad in it to Italy, Austria, Switzerland and France. She enjoyed this very much. And come back home, she says, that'll be your holidays now. I said, aye, that's your turn finished now. A camera there, I take photographs, colour pictures, and show them to the youth clubs and WRI, or cooperative guilds. Also make wine and beer. Treasurer of the wine circle of the local town, and also like gardening and a bud mowing roses, which gives me satisfaction, because when I see a nice bloom I can take it off and I have 1 or 2 of my own then, which fills up my garden. I might get a bloom from, like what I was in Ireland last year. I brought 2 or 3 blooms back from Ireland and budded them on, and now I have a bit of Ireland, and if I go to the borders, I have a bit of the borders or things like that. And every flower there has some small significance. If you want to see things, and especially on a bicycle, at the end of a day, if you have travelled and did something hard, you're ready for something to eat, and then when you've got something to eat and you feel that wee bit tiredness coming over yourself, you say, well, I have achieved something in 1, 2 legs, your body, because everybody's body is made to withstand a certain amount of punishment, and this punishment is good for you, I'd think, because people are getting too soft nowadays. They're sitting in big chairs watching TV, they're sitting in motor cars, they're sitting everywhere. But we go out there at the weekend, we punish ourselves to our own satisfaction, but it's not punishment to us, it's pleasure, because when we think it's getting too hard, we just ease up that wee bit, and we still carry on, although it might be another hour at the end of the day, but what's an hour when you've had a day of pleasure?
In 15 minutes here on BBC Two, coverage of today's play in the third